guys hear me okay if I'm here? Is this fine?
Yeah.
All the cameras fine.
The camera will get you, but if you can't hang around the front,
All right. I'll hang out.
Stand out here.
I'll just hang out here.
Nah. But that's the only way Adrian will get audio.
Okay, I'll stick here. I move around a lot. All right, I don't need a clicker then. Is it time? Should I call it? Are my levels good? All right. All right. I'll wait for these guys to finish. Jay, you want to throw something at them? We're all just creeping on you, don't worry. I was waiting for him anyway. Yeah. All right. How you guys doing? All right, good. I'm Johnny Christmas. I think I'd recognize several of you out there. I am cool with pictures. I'm cool with video. I'm cool if you want to live tweet weird things that I say during my talk. I actually like that a lot. Go for it. I have a lot of weird-looking slides that you're totally welcome to take pictures of and put on the internet. I am on Twitter. It's J0HNNYXM4S, Johnny Xmas. I have almost as many followers as Jason Street. By the way, Jason Street, everybody, let's give it up for Jason Street in the back. Keynote speaker tomorrow, man. Yeah. He's from the internet, if you aren't familiar with the internet. So thanks for coming, Jay. So what we're going to be talking about today is networking, the kind of networking we're doing here, the real reason you should be showing up at these places, not just to figure out what happened with Proxy Ham. This is about human interaction, and not just about using it to get a job. I know I do a lot of talks on how to get a job, but this is about how to get ahead, not just get a job, but get ahead in your career, get ahead in life. This is a critical part of being a human being that I really feel like is being lost, what with the internet being so prevalent and email and IMs becoming the way that we communicate with each other. This is a very, very critical, important skill that has not been evolved out of us and won't be in our lifetimes for sure. And so this is something I really think people needed to get back into and get back to our roots of how we communicate with each other. Who's seen this talk before? Is anybody? Cool. I speak in a very off-the-cuff stream of consciousness method, so every time I give this talk, it's drastically different than the last time. So if you like what's going on here, check out my talks from other cons this year on this same topic, and there's probably way more information in there, and it's what I'd like to do is do like a super cut at the end of the year, like a 2-hour remix of this talk. If anybody wants to do that for me, I'll give you like a Starbucks gift card. It's got almost $3 left on it. So come see me afterwards. Yeah. I do appreciate heckling too, so don't be embarrassed. All right, so a disclaimer I've had to put in here. I'm going to tell you guys, this is what you got to do, this is how it works, this is how you do it. And it's not going to apply 100% to everybody. We've all led different lives. We've all made decisions that have put us down different paths, and we're going to have things that are going to get in the way of what I'm recommending here or there. Don't use that to write off everything I'm saying. Just because I have one bullet point where you're like, well, I have a family. How am I supposed to do that? I have kids. All right, so that maybe isn't going to work out for you, but the majority of this is still going to apply. So just kind of keep that in mind. I had a lot of pushback initially on that, and it's like, I get it. We're all different. Not everything applies to everyone, but this is a great general concept of how it's going to go. Let's skip over that. The big thing is that society is woven around a lot of inconvenient truths. There's a lot of things out there that we have to accept exist, and we have to work with and work around and play with. And some of those things are irritating. What's that? It's hang on, we're getting to that. You're going to laugh in a minute, Jay. But there's a lot of bad stuff out there. We have to cope with homophobia. We have to cope with racism, and it's terrible, and we all wish that it wasn't out there. But in the meantime, we know it is, and we know that we have to watch out for it, and we know that we have to work around it while at the same time working to eliminate it. So I'm going to say some things in here that are like, this is what we've agreed upon as a society so far, and yeah, it's stupid, and it sucks, and I hate it, but this is how we work right now, and we're talking about that right now. And, well, yeah, while you can definitely fight against it on your own, if you're working within society, which is what this whole concept is, this networking, you got to kind of play along with some stuff, and so that's how it's going to be. We're here because we're human beings. We're social animals. We as IT people and hackers and information security nerds, we get accused of being antisocial all the time and being basement geeks. And while it's true, we do spend a lot of time in front of our computers and with our friends on the internet. But we have friends on the internet. Like, we still need that social contact. We don't cut all of society off just because we're in our basement on our computer. We're here because we have friends on the internet, a lot of us. We're here because we work in an industry where some of us feel isolated. Some of us are working at companies where we're the one security guy. And we hate it because we feel like we're on that island. And we love to show up and be in places where we're with people who know what we're talking about, who understand what we're going through, who get our jokes. And it's because we're social creatures. We're social animals, and we will never, ever get rid of that. It's who we are at the core of our mammalian brain. This is who we are, and this is what we do. And a big part of that is hopefully what we're all doing here is this networking, is this making new friends, making new acquaintances, meeting new people, and establishing, building out relationships and nurturing those relationships and hopefully leveraging them in the future when the time is right. And this is something that, like I was saying, we're not really doing anymore. And not just as far as going out and getting a job goes, but I see that in the workplace. Especially working in IT my whole life, as I'm sure many of us here have. There's so many fewer work friendships going on. You know, you might have that one guy whose desk you stop by once in a while, but it used to be, there was the water cooler gang, and there was always 5, 6 people hanging around the water cooler, and you just don't have that anymore. And once you become a person who's great at networking, you start building those relationships, you become just better known and better liked as a person. And that's what really this is about, is just being liked. And it's kind of a sycophantic way of presenting that, and I'm trying not to do that, because it's not about just getting people to like you so you can move ahead like, yeah, everybody thinks I'm cool and I'm going to make my way up. It's about building relationships and being leveraged as well as having some to leverage. And it's not about that very black and white, like using people. It's about helping each other. It's about being a friend. And like I said, I'm seeing that disappear, and it's really starting to bother me because that's still the way that things work. It's still the way we operate. And I need everybody to get back in on this and come along with me, because it's a really great ride when you've got a lot of people to help you out, but it's really dangerous to go alone. So here's my street cred. Like, who am I? Who am I to be up here telling you people what to do, telling you how to, better your careers and yourselves by networking, like to be like, no, you're doing it wrong. This is it. That's me. I was working in, that's a retail store, and I was just a computer repair shop. And I was good at computer repair, but it's hard to not be good at computer repair. It's not like there's a ton to them. And I had worked my way up to manager. I think here I'm like 20, and I'm a manager at a retail store. just because I was friendly with the other managers. I talked to them, saw how they were doing, asked about their families, just was being friendly. Whereas everyone else, especially when you're 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, working in retail, you just show up, you hang out with the other 16-year-olds, and you complain about your mom, and you're generally negative, and that's not going to get you anywhere. I had no business being a manager. I had no idea how to manage people. I still don't like managing people. I don't like being responsible for other people's mistakes. It's how many people here in a management position right now, management director, how many people have gotten yelled at because of something somebody who worked under you did? That's pretty much your job. Yeah, but who was I to say no? Like, you want to be a manager? Yeah, I want to be a manager. And it was just because they liked me and I clicked really well with the management staff, and they offered me the position tentatively. And that was really when I realized that skills is only a small part of what's really involved with building career-based, relationships. I got my first, for real, non-retail IT gig from a friend I made while working retail who got up and out, and they needed another guy to do what he was doing, and he said, I know somebody who would work really well with this team, and gave me a call and brought me in. Even though there's, trillions of us IT people out there, they called me because he said, I like this guy. He's going to work well with our team. He's going to fit in really well here, and gave me a call. I got that first InfoSec gig with, it was at a Global 1000 / Fortune 500 company with no previous information security experience whatsoever as far as professional goes. I mean, I've been an armchair hacker for my whole life, as I'm sure many, if not most of you have. I had a friend that I used to go play board games with. It was a friend's house, and he had a board game night, and 20 people come over, and we'd play trains and stuff. And this guy who was working at this company had been looking for an information security engineer forever, and especially that long ago, we were impossible to find. And they were really just looking for somebody who wanted to do it, who had that passion for information security, who had that passion for hacking, and with a solid IT base. And I had unfortunately not talked to him directly about what he did for a living, or I would have been all over him, but he sent an email to my roommate saying, hey, we're really having trouble finding anybody. Do you know anyone? I'm just reaching out to personal contacts now. And he said, well, Johnny does that. And he said, Johnny, like board game Johnny? Yeah. And so that night, I go over there, and we reintroduced each other for the first time. I'm that Johnny that wants to get an InfoSec. And he's like, I'm Bill trying to find InfoSec guys. And he goes, send me your resume and come in on Monday. And 2 days later, I had an interview for an information security job because this guy really liked me, didn't know any of my qualifications or skills, really liked me, really thought I would fit in well with the team because of my personality and how well he and I got along together, because we were playing board games. Because I wasn't in my basement playing Counter-Strike with some kids in Korea. And it's valid. What? I don't know if you'd get a job in Korea playing Counter-Strike with those same guys either. I think they've always been on Dota. That's where we lag behind as a country, is we never got into Dota. Within 18 months of working there, again, with no prior experience, promoted to senior, from junior to senior in 18 months. Granted, yeah, I did have to build up some skills and really prove that I could handle a senior role. But instead of just hiring a senior for that position and finding somebody more experienced, they promoted me and just opened up that junior position again. And it was because I spent a lot of time not just building the relationship with my team and working well with my team, but because I had spent a lot of time building and repairing the security relationship inside of my organization, going to the other teams that hated us. Who here works in InfoSec and is hated by everyone in IT? It's probably unrelated. We had a horrible relationship when I started working in there. But me just being me and wanting to get to know the people I worked with, I would take a walk around, say hi to people, stop at people's desks and not need anything. And that is a great tactic. To stop at someone's desk when you don't need something, that blows their minds. They don't know what to do. Especially IT, because we all get drive-bys working in IT, just people constantly coming up and going, I need this. And then when you come up and go, hey, Frank, how's it going? And then Frank's all pensive. He's like, oh, it's busy. What's up? Oh, just seeing how it's going, hanging out. And you want to really blow their minds? Like, bring some donuts. Oh, my God, you're the best. Yeah, right? Bring some donuts. Yeah. And you do that a few times. The next time you do need something, they'll drop everything for you, for one. Two, you're that guy on security they like, or wherever you may work. And they're going to come to you, unfortunately, or fortunately, when they need something for security. And you're going to take care of it, and you're going to smooth it out, and you're going to do it friendly. You're not going to give them the IT stare. You're not going to be a jerk about it. You're going to take care of it, and you're going to keep building these relationships because that's all IT is teams doing favors for each other. And I just did that a lot. And I had someone come up to me in a Home Depot parking lot once. I'm getting in my car, and he knocks on the window, and I'm like, and it's this guy from the Wintel team, one of our Windows admins, and he's standing up, and he was the guy who was like the most vocal anti-security, like, F those security guys, they should make us do all this garbage, they're so annoying. And like, here he is knocking on my car window at Home Depot. And I'm like, I roll it down like a crack. I'm like, hey man, what's up? And he's like, oh, what, are you doing some shopping? I'm like, yeah, I go back and forth. And he's like, I just really wanted to say, like, it's really cool, like, since you've come on board, like how things have turned around with security and how the team seems to be more open to helping us out and really more open to working with us. And because we used to have really bad blood going on between us with, you and, the manager who works there. And like, it's really a lot better. And this is only 90 days in, maybe. And it's really a lot better now. And it's a lot easier to get work done. And it just feels better, like, when we need to do stuff for you. And I just wanted to thank you for, like, really being a major player and getting that across. And like, that wasn't my goal. I wasn't like, I'm going to get in this organization and I'm going to fix the security mindset and I'm going to fix this. I was just building work relationships. And to have that guy come up and thank me for fixing that was just amazing. And that's all I was doing. And now I work for a company called Red Leg and I'm on the assessment team, a pen tester. And the guy who called me with that job offer, and I don't mean like, hey, do you know anybody? Like, called me and said, hey, we're adding a head count. I'd really like it if you came and worked here. I've met this guy 5 times at conferences like this, but we hit it off really well, and I maintain the relationship via, your Twitter or your Facebook or what have you, or just, maintaining relationships like you do. And he came back, and I had no red team experience per se, not professional red team. I could talk the talk, and I can rock some, Metasploit. But he said, hey, we're just adding headcount. I'd really like it. You'd work out really well here. And that was, again, just from hanging out, just from talking to people. And here I am. And so we're going to get into how that all works and why. Because most people think, man, that's lucky, man. Just going to board game night, and now you got a job. And then another dude called you for a way better job just because you, like, hang out and drink at conferences. Like, you got a semi-charmed kind of life there, man. And I used to have a picture of Rod Thomas there, and nobody knew who that was. And it's that, it's that I learned that there's a game that's being played out there, and I learned to play it, and it's unfortunate, but that's how it is. We all judge each other. We all have first impressions and second impressions. We're all judged based on how we look. All these inconvenient truths that are just how we operate, at least for now. And when you start operating within that realm of everything that we've unfortunately agreed on as a society, you can get ahead really, really fast once you stop going against that grain. And that sucks. And that, growing up as a punk, as an anarchist punk youth who went against the grain as a nature of who I was and still am, and I still struggle with this. Getting into this was weird, and it took a lot of practice and a lot of letting go and accepting how things are. And it's like you're either going to fight it, and that's cool, and like be you, but just understand that inside of society, this is what we're doing. This is what goes on. And that's for you, Jason. That's your Al Gore and his inconvenient truths. And so that's what we talk about a lot, is these inconvenient truths that you have to learn to accept and work with inside of. And this is the big one. This game that you see everyone playing, that you all know what I'm talking about, is what's going on there. Grandpa used to tell you that, show up every day on time and you work hard, you'll own that company one day. You're going to be the president of that company. And we've all heard that. And it's not true anymore. And it hasn't been true for a very long time. Showing up is important, like coming to work every day and that basic stuff. But all these companies are so huge, and there's so many of us who work in these companies that just showing up every day and working hard, all that's going to do is make them know that they don't have to worry about you, and you're going to get kind of put off in this corner where they go, well, I don't have to worry. And they like that they don't have to worry about you, and you'll get good reviews all the time. But they're not going to see initiative in you. They're not going to see personality in you. They're going to see you as a computer with a face who just gets stuff done. And it's unfortunate. You have to get up. You have to put your personality out there. You have to get to know people. You have to talk to people. And you have to learn to get along with people, because there's going to be a lot of people who say a lot of things that you don't agree with. There's going to be people that you don't like to work with. Everyone's got that one firewall engineer where they just can't stand the guy, and every time he answers the phone, he's angry, and he's like, what? That's the guy I'd buy donuts for all the time. That's the guy that I would work on. And whenever I needed something done, he would offer to do it. The guy who was too busy for anybody and answers the phone going, what, at work, was the guy who'd be like, I can roll that into the next change, don't worry about it. And it's because I was building relationships all day, every day. And that's the game. It's this constant getting people to like you and then maintaining that relationship forever. It's a constant juggling match, and it's a constant battle. And you can be upset with it, and you can be like, all these glad-handing people with their smiles and their handshakes, and this guy wears a suit everywhere. He's not fooling anybody. He's not fooling me. Like, I understand where you're coming from. Like, I really do. I really do. But it's what's going on. And if you want to win at this game, if you want to get ahead, you have to play it. Like, if you're not playing it, you're not getting anywhere. You can't win. You can't win if you're not playing. Like, if you're never going to win a Super Bowl ring if you're not on an NFL team. I guarantee that. Unless you win it in like a weird auction or something. But if you're just sitting at home watching them on TV and being an armchair quarterback and yelling about what you would have done, you're still not there. No one's going to show up at your door with, John Madden's not going to be like, here's your participant ring. Thanks for yelling at the TV during the Super Bowl. You have to play. And what's really cool about the game, about this game that we play, is even if you're like not really good at it, because people look at me all the time and go, it's easy for you to tell people to do. You're personable and you're outgoing and you know how to dress. I didn't. I remember this guy? That was dressed up. That was me. I thought I was fancy here, man. I thought I was snazzy. That shirt doesn't even fit. It's not even ironed. It was a very nice tie. One of my customers gave me that tie, and I think it was because he recognized that I didn't know how to buy ties, and he bought me a few ties. He's like, "Hey, how about you?" And yeah, and then he bought me 2 ties, and I wore those 2 ties every day. Terrible haircut, full of piercings. Yeah, and what? I got rid of the piercings. That's what's changed. But I was trying. I would put on nice ties. I would see like, nice ties. People notice nice ties. I'm going to wear more nice ties and see what happens. I did a lot of nerdy research on clothing and fashion. Like I researched fashion like a total geek, like 3 a.m. Googling stuff and like reading forums. Like, yeah, you can still be a nerd and dress yourself. It's crazy. And it living proof. And my point is like, just doing that, they were like, let's give him a shot at a manager. Like he at least shows that he's, kind of knows what's going on. He's trying to step up. Let's let him step up and see what happens. And so just at least try. You will see that if you just try like the littlest bit, you will reap massive rewards. And that's what's so great about this game is just the rewards you reap are so exponential to what little effort you put in. Like everybody picks on it participation trophies, like they give them to the little league teams. Like, oh, this kid played 1 game the whole season, he gets a trophy. Why is he getting a trophy? We showed up every day. He went to practice every day, and he played the game. He went along with what was going on with the team. He showed up. He played. Thanks for showing up. You didn't show up. You didn't even get a participation trophy. And I think that's the gist of what we're going to be talking about here today is that entry level, like how to just get that participation trophy. Who knows whose logo this is? Right. So if I said, who's the greatest basketball player of all time, what would you guys say? Or Michael Jordan. And I mean, here we're IT people who don't even watch sports mostly, and you ask any of us, a lot of us, who's the greatest basketball player of all time? We're like, I don't know, Michael Jordan. Yeah. Why was he the greatest basketball player of all time? Well, he scored a lot of points, and he could jump really high. It's 2 valid things in basketball. Yeah, and so he was the greatest. Michael Jackson wrote a song about him. Michael Jackson, arguably the king of pop, wrote a song about about what was it called? Like Mike, or just I want to be like Mike. Michael Jackson wrote a song about how he wishes he was Michael Jordan. And so we go, all right, well, Michael Jordan's the greatest basketball player of all time. He scored more points than anybody in NBA history. Was he the best point guard there was? And he had the best shot ratio, right? Like every shot he made went in. That's not true. Michael Jordan's stats were very average. He did score the most points. And those are 2 really important facts. Why did he score the most points even though he had a very average shot to actually making it in? That means taking a shot versus which ones. He was right about 50%, 50-50 with taking a shot and going in. How did he score the most points doing that? Took the most shots. He played the statistics. They kept feeding him the ball, and he kept trying to put it in. He took like 400% more shots than anybody else in the NBA. And he made about 50% of those in. And that made him like the highest scoring dude in the NBA for a very long time. I'm not sure if that's been broken, but made him the most famous basketball player ever just because he took the most shots. And it was all just a game of statistics. And that's and that's what we're going to talk about networking and meeting up with people and how to get those relationships that are going to click with you that are going to last in the long term. Because you're not going to click with everybody. But some people you will. And it's a real low percentage. And the way you make that work is just by taking the most shots with the most people. And doing that at the most places possible. Just always be networking. Always ABN. Like Glengarry Glen Ross. Always be closing. Always be networking. Who knows what I'm talking about? Yeah, coffees for closers. The coffees for closers. And that's it's so easy to get discouraged. Like when you meet somebody and you don't click with them, and you can feel like you're not clicking with them, and you can tell them being real vague about topics. Like, I'm not talking about clicking with somebody on the realm of information security, because you're applying too many variables to this. It's not even important, because clicking with people, we're going back to being animals. This is about just you and another animal just being on the same wavelength for various reasons. Thanks, Jay. And we like to make excuses for why we didn't click with people, and we like to use those excuses to not try in the future. We're great at getting in our own way. We're the best. There's one thing we as animals do, it's get in our own way. How we got to be the dominant species on this earth is beyond me, for how much we shoot ourselves down so quickly, so easily. Are we with this population exploding? Are we taking the most shots or what? We absolutely are. And how often do we get an Einstein out of that? It's pretty rare. Incredibly rare. And the bottom line is, we're going to throw math at life here. The more places you show up to, the greater your chances of being in the right place at the right time. Of just running across that one person. Running across that dude at board game night who's looking for a junior engineer. Just somebody who just has a passion for InfoSec, and it just comes up in conversation. Like that's, I didn't get that job because I went to a lot of conferences and sat in the back of the room and watched a lot of talks. I got that because I took my Tuesday night and I said, I'm going to put down the PlayStation 3 and I'm going to go play some board games at some guy's house where other people are. Like every opportunity, everything you do is an opportunity for networking. All the time, everywhere. Talk to everybody, meet everybody, get to know them, at least on a high level. Don't get their life story. You'll never remember any of that. But be friendly, be cordial, and it's going to come back to help you. Showing up means a lot of things. In the literal, it means going where you should be going instead of staying home in bed. Because you're not going to meet that person who ends up being useful to you in your house. He's not going to walk past your couch while you're playing video games. Generally, the strangers that walk past your couch while you're playing video games, like that conversation goes downhill pretty quick. It doesn't end up working out for the best in anyone's scenario. They're usually a burglar. And it's just, yeah, I mean, try. But random strangers don't wake you up in your sleep often. Again, it's, yeah, the dude standing over your bed like this who's like, hey, do you want a job? Pro tip, don't take that job. I took that job. Now I have to do this for the rest of my life. Yeah, so, I mean, there's an old Woody Allen quote. This is like, showing up is 80% of life. And we all know the quote, and we all kind of write it off because we don't think about it. But statistically, like, 80% of life was just you were in the right place at the right time. And I'm sure we all have at least one story we can immediately recall where that's the case. We're rolling in a good situation. I just happened to be there when that guy was there. Well, if you make a point to be in more places, more of those guys are going to be there. I promise, because they're everywhere. I've seen them. So this is what we're doing. I'm going to teach you how to get that participation trophy. I'm going to teach you how how to show up, like what showing up means, because showing up doesn't mean just walking in here and then if I just stood up here at this podium and looked at you guys for an hour, I probably wouldn't get anywhere. And it's a very unnerving look, Jason. I'm making it sound easy. I'm like, yeah, you just show up. You just go places, and then you're there, and then things will happen to you. You just show up. It's easy, right? Like, look at this guy who talks to everybody by nature of who he is and never takes his suit off, just telling me, oh, you just show up. I acknowledge it's actually really hard. I know it's really hard because I put myself through it. And I wouldn't tell you to be doing anything that I wouldn't do on video. And I had trouble too. Again, people are always on me like, oh, he's just naturally personable. Oh, that's Johnny. He's outgoing. He talks to everybody. I didn't used to be. I was a horrible agoraphobe. I couldn't be outside of my house for more than an hour and a half. I would get anxiety attacks. I would freak out. I would leave parties. And go home and do nothing. Because I don't know. I don't even know. It's a phobia. It's unexplained. It has no reason. And I realized at some point that sitting at home doing nothing wasn't helping me at all. And in fact, spending a lot of time with yourself is generally bad regardless of who you are. Like, you spend more than an hour in a quiet room with yourself, you're going to go crazy really freaking quick. Or what's really going to happen is you're going to realize you're already crazy. And that is not good for your self-esteem. It's not good for your depression that we all have. What fixes that is socializing, believe it or not. And I understand some of us are extroverts, some of us are introverts. We all do things differently. Introverts recharge their energy by hanging out and reading a book so that they have the energy to go outside and deal with society. Extroverts recharge their energy by going out and dealing with society so that they have the energy to be able to sit and do their job or read a book. We're all in the same game. We just transfer our energies differently. But the bottom line, like, I'm an introvert, I just would rather sit at home and read a book, is not an excuse. You're a human being, and we're social animals regardless. And I don't think any introvert is going to say, oh no, I don't do society. I just sit in my box. And then, yeah, it was small doses, sure. But nobody just sits in a chair until their funeral comes around and goes, it's fine. At least not without something else going on that they're not talking about. I understand it's hard. Some really cool quotes from John Mulaney that I like that really sum up, like, I really understand what's going on. He says it's so much easier not to do things than it is to do them, that we as people would do anything ever at all is totally remarkable. Because how easy it is to just not do anything. It's the easiest thing on earth. In terms of instant relief, canceling plans, it's like heroin. We all know that, right? When you cancel a plan, when you make that call or text somebody like, oh, I'm not going to make it. And they're like, okay. And you're like, yes. And it was just because you didn't feel like going out. If you ever ask an adult what they did over the weekend and they didn't do anything, they get excited. They're like, wait, we didn't do anything. It was amazing. We just sat. And that, because we love not doing things. And it's because of this society that we've created, this realm of, like, having a house that has a PlayStation 4 and our Netflix and our Hulu, and Amazon will send stuff to our door when we need it, that we never go outside anymore. Where our kids certainly don't go outside. And you can't be that one parent that sends his kids outside because they're the only kids out there, and now that's neglect. Like, we've lost that. We ruined that for ourselves. And so we've made it so easy to not leave our houses. Like, so much better and satisfying to not go outside. Because if I want to watch a show I like, if I want to feel satisfied or laugh or be happy, I put on Netflix and I got every episode of Futurama on there. I could watch that show for the rest of my life and feel great. Or I could go to this weird InfoSec mixer with a bunch of people I don't know, and they're going to be dressed better than me, and then I'm not going to know what I'm talking about, and then I'm going to feel like crap and then come home. Which of those two am I going to pick? I'm going to watch Futurama for the 90th time. And so, I understand that. I really understand that. But, that job's not going to come along. That work relationship's not going to get established from you just sitting around the house. You gotta go outside, and that's the answer. And you gotta train yourself to do it. You have to put your pants on, and you have to go outside. And I get it. I don't like pants. Who likes pants? Throw a hand up. Nobody likes pants. And yet, as a society, we have all somehow agreed to wear pants outside. But nobody likes them. But we have to. You have to put your pants on, and you have to go outside. We ruined life for ourselves with our Netflix and our PlayStation 4. And those things are great, and I love them. But we've ruined our own lives with it to the point where we all hate pants now. We used to love pants. You guys watch Boardwalk Empire? Those dudes used to put entire suits on. Or Mad Men? You put a suit on because it was Tuesday and the sun was up. And you wore a hat. Now you make fun of that guy who goes outside with a hat. You're like, look at that guy, he's wearing a hat. Who wears hats? And we've ruined that, and we need to get back to the heart of that. We need to get back to putting pants on. Yeah, that's, I know, inconvenient truth. So that's the bottom line. And I understand this is like telling a depressed person to just stop being sad. No, I just quit being sad. What's your problem? You show up by saying yes to everything. And you just do it. You seriously you say yes to everything. Anytime somebody invites you to something, you look at your calendar and keep a calendar. I know so many people don't keep a personal calendar. Like, hey, can you come hang out Thursday? Yeah. And then Thursday comes around and oh, I forgot my grandma died. I'm sorry, man. I forgot that I have a job. Because nobody keeps a calendar. And, oh, man. So, when somebody asks you to do something, you pull out the calendar that you have on you, because it's right here, and it syncs with your Gmail account, so it's everywhere. And you go, yeah, I'm not doing nothing Thursday. I'll see you there. And then you put it in your calendar. And then you go do it. And that's the other hardest thing. Like I said, going and doing it is, I know. And you're going to have to train yourself at first. It sounds like work, right? Because it is. At first, it's like any other skill. You have to, if you want to learn how to do something new, you have to make a point to sit down and learn that thing. You have to practice it all the time, and you're gonna suck at it at first. But if you keep pressing on and doing it, you're gonna get little successes. And you're gonna get better. As long as you treat it like a skill, because it is a skill. It's definitely something that takes practice. I've gone from not being able to go out of my house for more than 90 minutes at a time to now I can go to a conference for a weekend and yell authoritatively at people in a suit. How great is that? But it was terrible at first. But like I said, you'll be surprised at how quickly you become good at it, because it's a natural part of us as animals. It's in us all. We just bury it, and we just don't tap it because of that fear of failure. Failure is how we learn. You never learn from success. When you do something right, you don't reflect on how you did it right. You go, oh, I did that, and then this, and yes, that all. You don't take notes of the thing, you already know, because you did it. When you fail, that's when you stop and you have to figure out why you failed. You have to go back and look. And I'm talking, at work, as an engineer, when I fail at something, when I build something and it breaks, well, you figure out what broke, figure out why that went wrong, and then you fix it. And then the next time you have to build that thing or run that service or whatever, you know, and you do it right. And then 6 months down the road when you're doing that thing all the time, it's not even a thing. You just spin it up and then it just works. That's what failure does. It teaches you. And so like any skill, you're going to have to pay attention to it at first. You're going to have to make yourself do it. You're going to have to consciously think about it. You're going to have to go, all right, what went wrong there? Like that guy, I clearly agitated this woman, and I was just talking about stuff. And so you got to look back and you go, why did she get agitated? And it's not necessarily that you're at fault. It's not necessarily that you did something wrong, other than you probably didn't recognize that maybe you were touching on a topic that was a hot button for that person, and you kept poking at it, and now they're irritated with you. And next time, you just say, well, maybe I need to pay attention to people more. And we're going to talk more about that in part 2, which I'm doing tomorrow at the same time, by the way. Oh, the website has the incorrect talk on it. Tomorrow I'm actually just doing a part 2 of this, which is going to focus heavily on what to do once you've actually showed up. It's the actual like interactions and how to practice all these things that I'm ranting about right now. So that's tomorrow. So if you feel like I'm kind of being vague and glossing over it now, that's why. Same time tomorrow, 4 o'clock, I think the same room. But over time, as you practice this skill and you watch your failures and you adjust for them, you're going to get naturally better at it. And then you're going to be that guy up here talking in a suit with everyone going, it's easy for him to say that. He's just naturally good at it. I don't think that we as animals are naturally good at much other than hanging out with each other. And even then we're kind of bad at it because we irritate each other all the time. And I think a lot of that comes from the fact that we spend so much of our lives now just sitting on the couch. In big in caps, you must keep a social calendar. I can't stress that enough. So many people don't. Who here has a social calendar? There, see, I used to ask who doesn't, and nobody would raise their hand because they're embarrassed. So I learned from that. That's step 1. You have to know if you're free, and you have to know what you're supposed to do that night. You don't want that call, or you don't want to run into a guy in 2 weeks and be like, hey, we missed you at that thing, and you were like, I totally forgot about it. So I used to do that all the time. That was my thing. So once you're doing these things, you got to remember you're not going to click with everyone. We don't click with everyone. We're diverse creatures with diverse personalities and diverse interests, which is why we're great, which is why we has probably played a huge role in how we've become a dominant species, because if we were all the same, we'd have eaten ourselves. We'd have died off pretty quick. Especially in first impressions. We make, generally, some people are really good at it. We generally make terrible first impressions to other people. I do. I'm very outgoing and boisterous, and I have this thing where I just assume I'm friends with everybody right off the bat, and that people don't like that. They don't like when you assume you're their friend, and it's a thing I'm working on. All the stuff I'm telling you here today is stuff I still work on. And you'll never get perfect, but you'll get really good. You'll get good enough to the point where you're comfortable with it, and that's what's important. The masters of this scene, of the game, the master social engineers, all agree more or less in about a 20% success ratio with meeting someone that ends up turning into a successful long-term relationship, be that more of an acquaintanceship, not like best friendship. And that's only 1 in 5. If you're hitting 1 in 5, that's great. That's not failure. That's not you're just a bad person and no one likes you. That's what the master social engineers say they're at. 1 in 5 is pretty good. 1 in 5 is excellent. So again, get out of your own way. And stop being like, well, not everyone likes me, so I'm just not good at this. Not everyone likes me. Most people don't like me. 80% of people. I don't click with everybody. I have a strong personality, and I try to click with everybody, and I try to pull it back, and I'm always constantly trying to feel the other person out and adjust for it. But there's some people that whose personalities I just don't like to be around. And I still don't burn that bridge. I still don't write them off. I still don't say aggressive things to them and tell them to get out of here and F off. And don't ever burn those bridges. I have had so many times where a person who I didn't like, especially initially, or a person I had written off as, this guy's just a pud, this guy's just annoying, I don't have time for this. 2 years later, turned out that we were really into one of the same things, and he had some resources that were really helpful to me. It turned out maybe we both worked with the same security appliance that's really bizarre, and there were two companies, are the only ones in the U.S. who owned them. And he was like, oh yeah, I've been working on this for 8 years. I got this GitHub you should check out. And then once you got him to open it up, it turned out we clicked really well, but it was 2 years later. Don't burn your bridges. Don't write people off. You don't have to, you're not going to establish a relationship that you're going to constantly grow and nurture with everybody. Like I said, 20%. But don't do anything to stop that from happening either. There's stuff you can just let float, and there's stuff that will grow. But generally, stuff isn't going to fail unless you do something to actively let it, generally. Just about at the end here, when I was putting this talk together, I was trying to think of all the stuff I did that helped me to really get into social networking in the old-timey use of the phrase. And I had read a few books that really changed my life. And I read a lot of books that didn't. And I read a few that did. And so there's so much information on this topic that's already been written, that's already been said, that I didn't want to reinvent the wheel up here. Because when I originally made this talk, it was 4.5 hours. And right now I got it down to 2. And so to stop from reinventing that wheel, if you guys are really interested in the topic, I had 3 books that I highly, highly, highly recommend that are great references, that have a lot of hard information in them. And I'll just run through them real quick, and then we'll wrap it up for you guys. One, I love dropping this one. Who's read The Game by Neil Strauss? That's I always get the silent nod from a lot of people with this one. It's a real controversial book. On the surface, it's a book about it's an autobiography. Great author. Guy answers a Craigslist ad for someone saying, "Hey, I'm going to teach you how to pick up women. It's $2,000. Go out with me for a weekend. Guaranteed 5 phone numbers." And this author writes books on those topics where he does weird things and then writes a book on it. And he's really good. He's also a famous Rolling Stone interviewer / author. So he answers his ad and ends up going on this insane journey into the realm of pickup artistry. And so on the surface, it's about how to pick up women. Below that surface, it is a perfect, beautiful treatise on human psychology, on how simple we really are as creatures when you take away the female part of it and just look at what's going on. And a big core part of the book that I took away was if you just treat everyone like human beings, they'll like you. And I love this book for that, but unfortunately, if you just read through it, it seems like a pickup artist book. And if you try to use it as like a manual on pickup artistry, you will fail, and don't do that. Do not do that. This is a book on psychology and human interaction, and you have to read way below the surface to get to that, but it's amazing, and I read it all the time. Everyone knows this book, right? How to Win Friends and Influence People. You've at least heard that phrase. This book was written in the 30s, 1933, 35, and it was meant to be a textbook for door-to-door salespeople. There was a college who said, hey, we got a lot of kids in here, and door-to-door sales is the thing to do now. That's how everybody's getting rich, but we have no class on it. And we have no class on it because we have no textbooks on it. And Dale Carnegie was like, but I could write a textbook on that. And it's really cool, one, because it talks in old-timey 1930s speak, which is amazing. And I wish we still talked like that. But it's it's in textbook form. It's hard, factual information, and it goes, and it brings up all kinds of strange social situations you can be in, how to deal with aggressors, how to correct somebody who's saying something that's not true without irritating them, things like that. And it's a great reference manual that you can use to look up, like when you're going back and you go, man, I didn't really hit it off with that guy. I wonder what I did wrong to irritate him. You can go look in this book and find that one chapter. And he explains a situation, why these people are generally like this, and then a couple of ways of addressing it, and then